Hello YouTubers and fellow vintage CB radio enthusiasts. Today is the 4th of July here, and originally was going to go and spend the day with my sister, brother-in-law, niece, and nephew, but due to my health problems, I'm not going to be able to go anywhere today. So I'm stuck at home. Nothing to do. It's over 100 degrees here. Of course, I live in Illinois in the Midwest. The heat wave continues. The drought is horrible. I mean, everything's dying. The crops, my yard's dying. You know, it's bad this year. We had record rainfall last year, and this year it's just been awful. You know, we can't beg for a drop of rain, it seems. Now, some areas have been getting it. You know, it's been real spotty here in recent days, but where I live at, we just haven't got anything to mount to anything. Looks like Motor Mouth Maul is coming in and out. I'm not even pointing that way.
Happy Independence Day to you. And I'm going to ease back on the side, read the mail for a Scotia bit, see what Mother Nature's going to do around my neck of the woods here too. Radio station Motor Mouth Maul will be Mr. Sullivan Flat. And this BX2527 with a bit of this Motor Mouth Maul audio technology. I'll see you. Take care. Have a good day. Have a happy Independence Day. Keep all 10 fingers in their place. And we'll put it on again at a time another way on down the Healy Axe. Radio station Motor Mouth Maul, Central Coast of California, stepping back.
Fading a little bit. I had heard here a while back he had gone to directional array. I think he said a 6-element quad, if I didn't misunderstand that. I don't keep up with the people on the Super Bowl. It's not my thing. But the radio here, Johnson Messenger 323A, it's just a 23 channel. It's a little after noon on July the 4th. That is the speaker in the radio. And there's just not much DX anywhere else right now. I'm glad to hear him. I mean, he's one of the few operators I like to listen to on 6. Most of what goes on 6 just, it's not my thing. You know, I'm not saying anything bad. It's just, it's not my cup of tea, as they say. But I do enjoy him and a few others, that little more polished sounding, got that nice audio, that nice studio quality audio. It's supposed to be about the radio, but I enjoy listening to him so much. Anyways, since I'm not going to get to go anywhere for 4th of July and I'm stuck here at home, I decided to do a video on this radio.
Hello to you, 1969, New Mexico. I heard you too, I did. 1969, New Mexico way.
And the story I have on this radio, I bought this from a lady off of eBay a while back. And this was her grandfather's radio, she told me. She just recently cleaned this stuff out of her parents' attic, if I remember correctly. And she told me her grandfather was a truck driver back in the 70s, and he passed away in the 70s. She didn't say what. I'm assuming, something happened. Because she said this was the last radio he was using. And it looks like, now my LCD that doesn't show up. Well, it's starting to show up now, but that looks like his call sign, his license registration from back then. These radios date around, I think, 1974 to 1976, or 75 to 76. That's an estimate. That's a guesstimate, because I don't know exactly the time period on these. Most Johnson mobiles usually don't trip my trigger, but I like these to have this big S meter. I'm a sucker for big S meters for some reason. It's a bare bones outside, but inside I'm going to show you, because this radio is a little unique. It has a crystal lattice filter, even though it's a straight AM, and that was something that they marked. I've got an ad I'm going to show you here in a little while. They got an ad that they advertised in S9 magazine back in the day, talking about this radio and having a crystal lattice filter. Front, all you got is volume squelch, channel selector. It's a 23 channel crystal control. There are some crystals in this guy that are off frequency. It uses, crystal mixing, so that's something I'm gonna have to look into someday. A little bit of scratches, Not too much wear. I don't think he got to use it a whole lot. I didn't have to do a whole lot of cleanup on it either. PA on and off, and a noise blanker. Noise blanker works really well on this guy. There's so much noise you really can't tell, I know, but it does a pretty good job knocking out electrical line noise and stuff. It came out of New Hampshire. It's got the original CB Radio Shops tag still on it. It is the original bracket. And it's something Johnson did some odd things with some of their radios. They change things all the time, it seems. This is one of those that the microphone wires directly into the radio. I never liked that, how some Johnsons were that way, because you can't change the microphone to something that you want to run on it. You're stuck with the. I mean, these are good quality hand mics, but if you wanted to run a powered mic, you're out of luck unless you want to directly wire it in the radio. Of course, I'll always leave it this way. I'm not going to modify it. The other thing, big beautiful. I like these. There's not too many Johnson mobiles that have that S-meter. She goes red in TX mode. It definitely has been tuned. Audio. That is shocking wattage out of one of these old guys. I couldn't believe that. I've not had the covers off this radio. That's just how it was when it came to me. Heck, I think it almost looks better with that light off, maybe. I don't know.
Flowers, but like I said, you gotta keep some of them for yourself. Take care. Once again, State Trooper radio station Motor Mouth Maul is under modulated Galaxy DX2527. We got down.
I'd really forgot about these until oh my gosh, I'm probably gonna get the YouTube username incorrect, and if so, my apologies. If I get it wrong, I'll put it down in the notes. But I think it's 808 and the Mini Grass has got one of these, and he did a few video gates with his. And it reminded me of these. I'd forgotten about them. I was like, man, that's a cool radio. I'd love to have one of them. So I started looking for them, and I feel I got this one fairly reasonable. Anyways, I'm gonna do some video editing, graph some other clips in. This one has the odd 12-volt DC power hookup in the back that a lot of Johnsons had. That was another thing, an oddity that they did. I'll show that. I'm going to show the insides. I'm going to show the crystal lattice filter. I'm going to show you the ad. So I'll show all that. So we'll be back here in a minute and show you a little more info about this old classic American-made Johnson. Okay, a little bit of video of the back of the radio. Kind of shows some more of the oddities that E.F. Johnson tended to do with their CB radios, mobile and base, because the 12-volt positive connector, it's set up like that. So you would need one of those male. I don't know what the name of them. It'd be a female type. It's got a male spade in the center, so you need the female opposite to slide on there. What I do usually, I use an alligator clip test lead. For base use, no big deal. Mobile use, I don't think I'd really care for that. And they didn't make an easy ground connection for this, so I do the same thing. There's some extra holes in the chassis, as you can see. So I just take an alligator clip test lead and clip on, the chassis just so it's got a ground. Another thing a little unusual, notice you can change this to a negative or positive ground. There's the tag, E.F. Johnson. Made in the U.S.A. There's the FCC data number, which is different from the actual model number of the radio. It tends to be the case, not always, but in most radios that tends to be the case. Quality silver plated SO239 connector. I don't pay attention to that a lot, but honestly, I'm not sure if I've ever seen a Johnson CB that didn't have a silver-plated one. Or at least wise if it had its original. Notice they didn't finish painting the insides of the case. I thought that was a little unusual. Like I said, it's in pretty good shape. The bracket's kind of a weird. Well, I don't know. I wouldn't call it weird. That's wrong terminology. A little different. Let's say that. And the lady I bought it from thought that her grandfather might have made this bracket, but after doing some research on the internet, I don't think so. I think this is factory. I know some of them are a lot cruder than others. I think he drilled some extra holes in it, but I do think it's factory because I've seen a number of others on the internet, you know, same shape. Some of them were not so crude, you know, on the bends and the ends here where it's cut off, because this is really thick here, the front part, but you know, the back part's about normal thickness. This is aluminum, or I forget, my friends in the UK, you guys pronounce aluminum different. Is it aluminum or something like that? I'm sorry if I botched that up. I just never realized different English speaking people, you know, pronounced aluminum differently, but that's what I'm talking about. Dave, my friend Dave will he'll sort me out on that, I'm sure. M0GY, if you know, I botched up the UK pronunciation of it. Anyways, that's about all there is to show of that. There's PA and speaker. I didn't point that out, but whoop-de-doo, most radios have that. At least it does have a external speaker jack. It's not something the Messenger 250 had. Okay, I think I'll move on to the insides, and then probably at the very end I'll show you the ad from the old S9 magazine. Okay, didn't take much to pull the case off. It's kind of pretty well thought out, you know, how they did the case around on these and how they come off. There's just 2 screws on each side to take out, and then in the front up here, on both the top and the bottom, there are 2 flathead Phillips screws to remove, and then the whole thing slides out. You know, I thought I remembered reading it was a crystal lattice filter, but I got to looking at the ad, and I remember reading this in more than one place, but it's been a while back, because I'm looking for a typical crystal filter, and I'm not seeing it. And the ad says, let's see, I gotta find it here. I'm looking at it in my lap. It says it's a dual cascade crystal filtering system. It does go on to say that the A&L is fully automatic. Of course, we've seen the noise blanker. You could select it. So I don't know what that looks like, that crystal filtering system. I don't know. It might have to do with some sort of mixing, you know, scheme with some common crystals, and that may be what's going on, because this guy's, I tell you what, this guy's pretty snazzy inside. It's a lot different from what I normally, you know, I'm used to seeing in a 23 channel radio. But here's your channel selector. I don't know if you can see that. There's a large green rotary switch. So there's your mixing crystals, your typical mixed crystals you would see in one of these. And look, I mean, look how massive them bulbs are. There's the S meter, the huge S meter in this guy. You know, man, them things are massive. There's the clear one, and then there's the one that's red coated, you know, for TX. But there's a board up here in the front. All this mounts on behind the front panel. So yeah, some of them crystals, well, you know, yeah, some of those, the ones down here, they'd be rough to get to. God, I hope hopefully I have some crystals for it, and hopefully it's not any of them. Then we come back to the main board, and look how that speaker's mounted. That's pretty snazzy. That's pretty heavy duty. You know, it's got a large metal grill. It's got a like a fiberboard ring washer, you know, to keep them from being metal to metal contact when the surround is slid together. But see, up here, you know, in your mix, what would, you know, you would tend to call a mix section in a later 40 channel radio, see, there's some more crystals up here. So I'm wondering if that has something to do with what they're describing in that ad. I mean, I don't know. I've not looked at a schematic on this radio and tried to figure out, you know, a little bit more of the dynamics of how it actually operates. And bad thing about the way they did the speaker, see, they've got it insulated from this, it's probably, yeah, it's an aluminum support. They've insulated the back of the magnet. I don't, it looks like, you know, there looks like to be an IC up under there. I'm sorry, I think you can just barely see some legs. Kind of surprised to see that in a 23 channel. But this is a later 23 channel But it wasn't long after they were making this radio, the 40s came out, so I don't see what I would typically, recognize as a crystal filter, so, I don't know. I'll take a little research someday, I think. I think it just has something to do with some more complicated mixing scheme, of crystals is maybe what the whole cascade, yada, yada, yada is all about. Anyway, so there's the component side. Really pretty heavy duty, well made. Johnson was, Johnson really didn't make chintzy CB radios, to be honest. They weren't always the most beautiful things in the world, but they were pretty robust anyways. There's some more crystals that are part of the mixing. Of course, my camera's going out of focus now. I flipped her over to solder side so you can see a little more. It's just like a piece of cardboard insulator. Very neat, solder side of the board. Anyways, that does it for the insides. I can't really explain a whole heck of a lot about it. It uses a massive bulb too to illuminate, your channel display. Because I really didn't do I just didn't do any research about the circuitry on this radio. I mean, most things you see are pretty typical, but what they're talking about, that cascade filtering system, I'm not sure. There's definitely a lot more mixing crystals in this than the standard, 23 channel AM CB radio, so that's probably what's going on. There's some sort of more complicated scheme, with it. Okay, rattled on too long. There's the insides. Show the ad and then wrap it up. This guy's going to be long. Yeah, I just can't make short videos, can I? Okay, here's the ad. It's on my laptop. I'm pretty sure I do have the S9. I think I have an S9 or a CB radio magazine that has this ad, but I didn't look that, much for my paper copy. And I noticed I had one on my computer that I got off the web somewhere. It came out of S9 Mag, April 1976. Nice big color ad. And one thing I miss about with Windows 7 is, you don't have the scroll bar over here. I hate that because, to blow this up, I got to use two hands. And I didn't set the tripod up, so I guess I'll just set the camera down so I can scroll down to the wording so you can actually see something. Sorry about that, but I really just didn't know any other way to do it. Engineer's triumph, operator's dream. Let's see, a little towards the middle it says, in the new 323A you can experience the incredible interference rejection of the only dual cascade crystal filtering system available in any CB radio. And then it goes on to talk about the exceptional noise rejection, RF noise blanker, fully automatic noise limiting system, adjusts itself for the clearest reception, so on and so forth. It was that was the retail price back in the day. It was an expensive radio, $249.95, and that was mid 1970s. I mean, some outlets probably sold it for less than what Johnson advertised it for, but still, it was a $200 plus radio. Back then, it was an expensive set. It wasn't a cheapie. It was definitely, I would say it was definitely their upper end of their AM mobiles. Might have been their highest model, straight AM mobile at that time. Not highest overall model because they did have some sideband mobiles. Unfortunately, I don't have any of them. Maybe someday, but as of now, I don't have any. And all I can say is, little envious of those that do. But, somebody's got to own them. You can't have them all. That's for darn sure. But anyways, I think that pretty much does it for this radio. Like I said, I I got this from a lady, out of New Hampshire, if I remember correctly, off of eBay. It was her grandfather's. He used it when he was a trucker. It was his last radio before she passed away, and she was really happy to know it was going in a CB radio collection. And I honestly do use the radio now and then. I love the receive on it. It's got a real nice, punchy, bassy sound to it. It's Motor Mouth Maul. I don't know if the camera's microphone did him justice, but he sounded pretty good on a stock 23 channel. I mean, he sounds good, period. But I think I guess what I'm trying to say is the old Messenger 323A I thought was doing a decent job, at least, of reproducing his audio. Does a better job than some of my later rigs that don't do him justice. So anyways, that's it. I've rattled on too long. The Messenger 323A, a little unusual with its crystal filtering scheme, large S meter, pretty snazzy radio. I just wished it had a microphone connector instead of, as we can see in the picture, of the cord going through the grommet and it just wires straight into radio. Johnson did that on a lot of their mobiles for whatever reason. And even on some of their base stations, when they added jacks, some of the base stations and some of their mobiles have got the antenna, the mic connector in the rear of the radio, of all places. They just had some really odd ideas on how to do things. I mean, some things they did, make really good sense, was really good ideas. Other things is just, to me seem a bit strange. But anyway, 73s, everybody, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. More Johnson American-made radios to come.